Things are normal again. We have the intros. They're working. I was actually talking to someone on the on writing series, and the on writing the person before the series said, "I don't want to talk about the intro with you." Just so you know, they were
So
pretty
that
insistent
that
that
did put an end to the series, unfortunately.
it did. We
We
didn't go on with
we
it.
had to
They were
retire
a
it.
great. They were a great potential guest, but that didn't work out between us. But yeah, I am happy to be back, and I'm also happy to be talking about VIP hosting at Reclaim Hosting. Jason, Alexis, and Taylor all part of putting this together. Jason, you were lead on this, so I know you have some slides for us. So why don't we jump right into it and talk about VIP hosting at Reclaim and what that means for us and you.
Sure, sure. So VIP hosting, the idea has surfaced over a year or so ago. I think Pilot mentioned in one of our stand-ups a while back that maybe we could revamp the professional services add-on that we had and do something a little different with it. And being the one who manages a lot of the professional services accounts, it kind of stuck in my brain, and I kept thinking about it, and that led us to uh, developing this VIP hosting product. Um, which is more or less, it's a premium tier of shared hosting. It's something for a lot of our clients. We recognize there's a space between standard shared hosting and then our larger domain in one's own and our managed hosting products. There's a little void there that need to be filled. So this was managed to kind of be that in-between product for people who needed just a little bit more than traditional shared hosting.
Yeah, and that's right. And the trick of this, and I think Taylor, you'll know this having been with us for a while, like, is what's the balance, right? What do you get with VIP versus what does managed hosting mean? And that's where we wanted to be very kind of specific and articulate that as cleanly as we could, because it's tricky. And, the money, the jump is a big one from VIP to managed. So trying to be clear about that, both for us as a company and with the client, is kind of crucial to making this kind of sensible for people who want something more, but not too much, if you will.
Yeah, it's a common thing that comes up, right? And I don't really have too many qualms about being at least kind of transparent about how we make these kind of decisions because I don't know. Well, I guess I feel pretty good about about how we make them, but like it's not that hard to understand in terms of hosting a website, right? Like you need server resources to do that. And the way we do things at Reclaim, we have shared hosting, which we can offer really inexpensively because you get to split that server with a large amount of people. And there are a lot of benefits to that, right? There's benefits in terms of just pure, like if you want to think about it in terms of compute and like data center type stuff, it's just, more efficient and compacted in a certain way. But also there's benefits in terms of time. We're a very small company, so it's easier for us to maintain a smaller number of servers than, if every single one of our customers had their own server, that would be a lot. That would be a lot of servers. So we would need a much larger infrastructure team if that was our business model, and of course, then costs would be a lot more. So we're always thinking about what's the middle ground between what's the cheapest thing that we can offer, which we feel really good about being able to offer that, but then also our larger hosting things, and there's a lot of moving pieces with that and a lot of time and care for, in some cases, one website, right? So most people, though, want something in the middle, and we're always trying to think of how we can kind of expand where we're meeting people, I think, not telling them your site needs a change to this thing. We want to come to you when we can. So this is, I think, an effort to do that.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think the shared hosting plans that we have, for a large number of people, that works. It works really well, right? And then you have, let's say organizations or educators who maybe started a department site that, started out as a hobby or a passion project and now has become mission critical or has just grown, and suddenly it becomes an important site. And so, this is kind of where VIP comes in too, where it's like, now I need more reliability, I need more predictability, I need more stability. Maybe I need a little bit more hand holding. Um, and we're able to just kind of provide those services rather than having to do it all on your own.
Yeah, for sure.
So what is it, Jason? What is it? If you were gonna give me VIP hosting details, what would they be? I need to know.
You need to know. So it's VIP. It's premium shared hosting tier. Like I said, it's a middle ground between your shared hosting and your dedicated hosting environments. It's something that's going to give you more performance, more guarantees, um, more reliability, better support without you having to take on more management and just more responsibility for your site as you would if you jumped straight from shared hosting environment to something like a dedicated or managed server on your own.
Now, the one thing that's always, and I'll say it, it's tricky about this is what are the lines and what do they mean? And I think we did a really good job before we put this out of talking about some of these lines. With VIP hosting, right, you get a low tenant server, so very few other people on that. We've actually upped the storage so you can get more than that 100 gigabyte cap. And that is something that comes with it. So there's a lot of actually specific features, malware monitoring, and we'll actually help you optimize and think through what it is you need on your site. We can give you very specific advice. So there's real kind of, to your point, you said it already, Jason, hand holding, like folks who want to get up and running but don't have the resources on site to work with their WordPress site or whatever they're doing, right? This is where they have a little bit more access to the Reclaim team. That is kind of why we did this. People needed it, but also oftentimes their own server or a kind of monitoring service or all the things that go with managed hosting were a little bit overkill for their purposes. And we just didn't have a middle ground. And I think we walk that middle ground nicely here, especially with a lot of people need more space or they just need more insight to application elements that they don't have at the moment. So I'm hoping that this kind of work really places us in a very unique situation to help those folks who've needed it previously.
Yeah, and
Is
I
that
think
fair
I
to
mean
say?
even I believe so, and I think even just if you look at something like space, right? I don't know how many times I've gotten a support ticket. Somebody says, "Hey, I'm at the limit of my organizational plan. What do I do from here?" And the answer is either like, well, you can go to managed hosting or you try to Reclaim Cloud. Reclaim Cloud's great, but there's some people it's just it's too technical for them, and they don't want to do that. They don't want to deal. They want their shared hosting. They want it the way it was. They just need more. So it's nice now where you can say, hey, this is easy. Just upgrade to this. You get the 200 gigabytes. You have 100 more gigabytes. You just instantly double your storage. Plus, you have all the additional bells and whistles and benefits. So I think there are a lot of use cases where it's an easy transition for people, or it's just an easy starting point if you're coming in with a site that is something a mission critical site for, let's say, like an alumni association. That thing has to be up and running, and you don't want to worry about it. You don't want to have to worry about updating and doing it and running the back end. You just want it there. You want to know it's loading. You want to know somebody's looking at it, making sure everything's running properly. And when you do need to make updates, you want a little bit of hand holding. You want somebody to walk you through that process and make sure that everything's just working as it should be. So I think it's just it's a nice. I don't know if the word plug and play is accurate, but it's a fairly plug and play thing. You set it up, you run with it, and our team is there to make sure everything's running and working the way you need it.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the reason we weren't offering larger plans is like larger than 100 gigabytes is because that's a really large site. So I'm not sure it would be able to like reliably run on a shared hosting server where there's so many accounts that are all sharing those resources. And now we have this 200 gigabytes because it can be supported by a lower tenant server. But also, Taylor, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, that's completely accurate. And I think the thing to keep in mind with storage, because this is a question we get, right? Which is sort of like, I like what I have. I just need a little bit more storage. And it's like, look, we have to have limits at some points because the way something like shared hosting works, we have to make buckets that people can use that we think make sense. And the reality is 100 gigabytes for a website or even just a small, like 2 or 3 websites is like a ton of storage. In fact, most providers in our space don't offer that much storage at any price. Basically, once you get above, like 10, 20 gigs, they're kind of like, yeah, put that media someplace else. We kind of have different limits. We like the fact that people can use our services to run a few different websites, knowing that they probably have one they really care about, and maybe some things that they're toying with. We think that's kind of important to what we do. We want to have the ability to do that. So we have some plans that offer more storage. But the reality is, if you go and put, say you get a terabyte of storage, we'd have people who would be running complex business infrastructure on it and then being like, yeah, it's kind of slow, and be like, yeah, it's not really meant for what you're doing. So it's about right sizing what we imagine people might be doing and what we observe people doing, and making sure that we're not kind of over promising. Basically, like if you see a huge amount of storage and you're spec minded and you know how this stuff works, you might go, oh, that's capable of a lot, and we don't want to make we don't want to make it capable. We don't want to make something appear capable of something that it's not, basically. And so, kind of right sizing storage is a way to do that, basically.
Yeah, and I think that's right. And I think, again, this is something where it's kind of a breakthrough, because we only always limited it to 100, and then you had to think about, to your point, Taylor, going to S3 or offloading it, or jumping to Reclaim Cloud or a bigger package like Managed. This, again, hits that sweet spot of 200 gigs. A lot of people who run into this, we run into its libraries with big archives or Omeka sites or Mercurtu sites, and they need more storage. And that oftentimes means they need more resources, and they need more help. So this is a good package, I think, for a lot of those groups who are kind of up against that. Like, that's key for us. I think we would see people who are running into those issues as a potential for this. And they're usually organizational, to your point early on, Jason. And there are people who kind of need this now to just work and put their hands off and allow that to work so they can go about doing the project they're there to do, like archiving, scanning, or whatever it is they're using this site for. So it has been kind of nice to do that. The things to kind of point out that maybe if you need that you won't get with this is, if you need 24/7 monitoring and, preemptive intervention, that is not something that's going to come with VIP. And that's kind of important to know, because at the point you need that, and that any downtime is dangerous downtime, we do obviously monitor the VIP host, but we don't monitor your specific site. So that's something where we kind of do draw the line on that monitoring. That would go up to managed hosting, because that's 24/7 intervention on a particular issue, which you'll still get for the server, but not necessarily for your site if something application level goes wrong.
Again, it's about right sizing those things. It's kind of designing the services in a way that we can try and provide something we think is valuable, but won't, run the four of us plus Chris and Justin into the ground, and be realistic.
Yeah, I agree. So Jason, I made you skip ahead in slides. So feel free to go back.
Oh yeah, no
Or
worries.
go forward, or go wherever you want to go.
Well, let's just jump to that. So we looked at this page or this slide, which is the VIP hosting features, and that's kind of like, these are like the meat and potatoes of the plan. But then we also have, I guess, I don't know, you call it the accoutrement, the benefits that come along with it too, which are here. So, we're offering things for VIP like a service level agreement. It's something that you just don't get with our standard shared hosting plan. So there's going to be guaranteed standards for uptime, our support responsiveness, et cetera. Part of that support responsiveness is going to be a guarantee that we typically reserve for managed hosting and domain in one's own clients, and that's a reply within an hour. So if there's an issue with your site, when it comes into our support team, it's going to get flagged. Our support team is going to see that. So regardless of how busy we are, we'll get flagged, and we'll make sure that these VIP users are getting replies as quickly as possible and within that hour time frame. The other two things to note on here are consultative account reviews. And this is something that we can do by request. So if there's questions that you have about your site, maybe the best way to grow it, the best way to support it, whatever the case might be. We're happy to sit down with you, kind of go through your account, uh, see what changes might be necessary, see if there are any suggestions we can help you make to keep things running more smoothly. Whatever the case might be, we're happy to sit down and review the account with you and see what's happening. And then a free migration path. This is just nice because typically we'll charge for these migrations, but if you get to a point where you move to VIP and now VIP isn't quite enough, and you do need to move to something like a managed or a dedicated hosting environment, we will do that migration for free, which is just nice. It's nice to know that if the site continues to grow or become more important to an organization, that you have the opportunity to just kind of bump up to the next level without having to invest more time or money or resources.
Yeah, I particularly like that. And I think, this is also that middle ground to figure out, do you need managed hosting? Like, is it the shared hostess problem, or is it actually like you need more resources than you might get with a shared hosting? And I think this is a really good middle ground to kind of figure that out for certain sites that maybe aren't sure without the same kind of commitment financially. And I like that, again, of kind of allowing people to kind of figure it out before we commit too much and they're like, wait, this was more than I wanted.
Yeah, and it's nice with the account reviews too. I mean, it gives you an opportunity where we can sit down and we can look at your usage, we can look at the performance, we can look at your growth trajectory. We can just help you think ahead. So if it's getting to a point where you're like, hey, is managed hosting for me? You now have the opportunity to just request an account review. We'll sit down, we'll help you figure that out. We say, hey, now VIP looks good. You can sit on this for another year or two and you'll be fine. Or else hey, we need to think about moving this. And it just gives you that opportunity to talk with our team and hash these things out rather than trying to do it internally or on your own and trying to make those decisions without any input.
Yeah. And again, I mean, support is what sets us apart. And so here you're getting even more. So think about that. If you're already happy, think about how much happier you're going to be as a VIP. It's the place to be. In 2026, that didn't rhyme.
I love this cat in this image. Just apropos of nothing, it is my favorite image part of any of our VIP imagery.
Well, we do have
So we
a
did a
little
really
bit.
good. I'm sorry, I was going to say we did a really good job. Alexis did the bulk of it, going back and reworking these. These were for the concierge, concept a while ago. We went back and we reworked them, and this was one that I just grabbed. I was like, you know what, I don't know what's going on here, but I like it, and I'm sticking it in the slideshow.
It just,
Well,
I
cat
can't
and
tell.
an
The
umbrella,
cat
and
looks
a-
a little bit scared, but it's being well taken care of,
It's where the weather is obviously unpredictable. So
Yeah.
The other thing too worth noting is we may have to it's VIP, but then it's going to be also Laserdisc. So at some point we're going to have to rebrand VIP as the Laserdisc version of the VHS. So that's coming. So what you have right now is a nice Brian Mathers kind of tour de force of the VIP concierge, which I love too. But then we're also going to release the Laserdisc version of shared hosting. So get ready.
Yeah, we were talking about the fact that we use, VHS as the media for shared hosting pretty universally. Like that's kind of how that goes. And cloud has its own metaphor of sort of containers and bubbles and stuff like that. We played around with previously Reclaim Press, the record idea, and I was like, well, what's better than VHS? Of course, not DVD or Blu-ray. I don't care about those. It's Laserdisc. That's what's better than VHS.
I love it. Yeah, that was a stroke of genius. So, to be continued, people.
Yeah, and the Laserdisc versions will be they'll you'll be able to pause and rewind seamlessly on your website.
And it works really well because you have special features, right? Laserdisc introduced the whole multiple audio tracks. So here's the whole idea of, special consultation features, right? Free migration pass. Like we can do the special features of what comes with this Laserdisc brilliantly. So,
Yeah. One of the things I think that's kind of exciting to me too, I will say, on both this and some changes we've made to shared hosting and are rolling out to Dominion Zone kind of slowly too. I think this year is a really interesting inflection point at Reclaim. It feels like we're kind of reinvesting in the shared hosting model. Not that we never divested, but I'm talking about from like an infrastructure standpoint. Chris and I are really focused on performance right now on shared hosting. And this offering is not possible without that, right? Like, you know, if this was slow, then it would be pointless. So, you know, we have some blog posts that I can maybe link to if folks are curious, but that we actually did around Christmas time around some performance improvements. And that applies to both this and shared hosting. But frankly, because of the way VIP works, it has a really big impact there as well and makes that kind of service something that can be as fast as it is. So I don't know, it feels good. It feels good to make the cPanel stuff, bring it into the modern era, you know?
I like that. And the other thing that we do on some of our managed hosting that we're doing on these VIP servers is Lightspeed. So there are real benefits for certain people with the Lightspeed plugin, which is a drop-in replacement for Apache. And the way it deals with, you know, WordPress sites in particular and caching is impressive in terms of speed. So there is real, to Taylor's point, there are real technical advantages for your WordPress or other Apache-driven sites that you will see the difference.
Yeah. So wanted to throw those technicals in here kind of at the end because frankly, we don't talk a lot about it in our branding of this product. And in my opinion, that's the correct choice because we actually don't want people to have to worry about it. That's the whole point of VIP, is that you kind of don't have to care. Is it faster? Yes, great. That's kind of all you should care about. But, you know, here, we're on a stream. Folks who are watching a web hosting company's stream might be curious about the technicals. So cool.
It's funny you were talking about like modernization, and I embarrassingly had to look up what a Laserdisc was.
That is not embarrassing. You're
Not
just a
calling you
normal
guys
person,
old,
Alexis.
but
Old is right. You're right, Alexis.
Yeah,
This
that's
is
not
a
embarrassing
Laserdisc.
for you. That's embarrassing for me. Frankly, I've never touched a Laserdisc, but I know what they are because I really like old formats of media. But I don't have a player, so.
You guys are forcing me to do it. This, Alexis, is a Laserdisc. It's reflective presence.
Yeah.
This is like a vinyl
Fucking
size
sweet.
DVD, right?
Yeah. It looks like a huge CD, basically.
Yeah.
And they're normally double-sided.
And it actually had audio to die for. The audio is what people loved it for. It had really great audio, and it had multiple tracks. And so it really did provide like a higher end version of film experience. In fact, Criterion, which is very popular now, started as a Laserdisc company to give you special experience in the film watching process at home. And so Laserdisc was that kind of very VIP film experience. So it works brilliantly as a metaphor.
There's a YouTube video I'll link you, Alexis. It's like a 15-minute explanation of what Laserdisc was from this YouTube channel called Technology Connections, and he does a fantastic overview because it's kind of weird. It, like, if you know anything about like CD and DVD and of course Blu-ray, those are primarily digital, which makes sense. Like that's kind of what we associate that kind of disc with. But a Laserdisc is not digital, and it's not digital in kind of a weird way. And so, like, it's not accurate to call it closer to vinyl than a DVD or even a CD in some cases. But it's kind of true. It's weird. It also, you had to flip them like they would stop in the middle. You had to either flip it or buy a very fancy player that had actually two. Well, maybe Jim, you might know. You probably would know better than I do. I think most of them had two heads, so it would read either side.
It would
because it
flip
wasn't
them.
like they were
It would
or
literally flip
flipping
them. It would.
Wow.
So no, but the disc would stay. What would flip
okay.
is the lens. The optical lens that read it would follow a track and go to the top of it. And so it was a single lens, but I have one right here that I'm working on that doesn't work. And the track is always the thing to break,
Okay.
because when you flip the track and the thing gets stuck on the track and you're like, damn it, my laser disc is broken. And it's because the lens can't go all the way over.
They also spin pretty fast too, right? Like they're a little bit loud because they have to spin fast in their large discs. I mean, loud compared to like a CD player or a DVD player.
That's sweet. I do remember having to like take out my VHS tapes, and I don't think we had to flip them. I think I had two for like longer form movies, and then you had to like flip them, get back in the movie. But that's super cool. I'll have to look into it. We're really into movies in the Block household. We have like the Regal Unlimited for our household, so we try to maximize that and see. We saw 30 movies in 2 months. So
Wow.
That's awesome.
yeah, we'll have to look into Laserdisc.
Well, you guys have reminded me. I totally forgot, but I remember my very first Laserdisc experience is when we were out in California visiting my dad's college friend. And they had this beautiful house in Marin County. It was like fancier than any house I'd ever been in before. And this guy, he took me into his movie room and was like, "Jason, you're gonna love this." And he's having I put Top Gun in on Laserdisc and just the jets. And then they left me there and went and did adult things. And yeah, I was perfectly happy for 2 hours just sitting there being blown away by my Laserdisc experience.
It's right, because it really was the first to have that sound experience with the multi-channel sound, and kind of, still people go back to the audio for it. And to Taylor's point, like, wasn't fully digital, wasn't fully analog, but it did have optical audio. And so it was such a hybrid of what was to come.
Yeah, and it's also to me fascinating because it's easy to think of a lot of things in terms of media as like this came, then this came, then this came, then this, but it's not true. Most of these things coexisted for a long time. Laserdisc started development, I want to say, before VHS came out, which is kind of interesting, and they were concurrent for most of the time. It's just that Laserdisc was always more expensive, and it just didn't win in like the minds of consumers. And then basically got kind of upended by DVD, which also is much older than I think most people realize. Like DVD players came out in the like mid 90s, basically. They just weren't affordable yet. So it's kind of weird. It was always a little bit niche. And there's still like serious movie buffs that seek out some movies as Laserdisc copies, not just because they like Laserdisc, but because that is, for whatever reason, the best print of the movie, because the DVD version was maybe never released or like mastered in a way that is kind of weird. There's all kinds of still a format that people return to, but it is a niche one.
Yeah, they talk a lot about the audio. Little good trivia. Last movie to be created on DVD, on Laserdisc, I believe, is The Matrix. A little bit of
Really?
kind of funny,
so that's
right?
literally what I had in mind when I was thinking about when I mentioned I didn't know it was released on Laserdisc, but when I think of people's being angry about different releases of a movie, I think of The Matrix because of the color grading. Right, how that movie should look is a thing that people care a lot about and has changed every single time. So that's kind of interesting. I didn't even know that.
So anyway, if you see one, buy it because it's very valuable. So what else do we got? Jason, I'm sorry. We went on to Laserdisc.
We got our checklist. We talk about VIP. We got our Laserdisc corner in. Yeah.
No, it's a good segue because Laserdiscs are hybrid, and VIP is kind of a hybrid of our shared hosting and managed hosting, and bring it back that way, right?
Love it.
That's a valiant effort to try and make that not a pointless segue.
Trying my best here.
All right. Well, with that, we'll wrap this one up, but just, this is coming. We'll be talking to people about it. Don't be surprised. You may even be pointed to this or other options if you're having problem on shared hosting or if you need more. So this is our way of trying to communicate it, talk about it, put resources out there to let people know it's coming. And then obviously, if you have issues, questions, thoughts, let us know. We're interested in what you think about it. Does it hit a right spot? Are we missing something obvious? Let us know so we can think that through. And, with that, I'll say thanks for listening. Thanks, everyone, for joining us to release VIP hosting. And we'll look forward to you on another stream. Can we end cleanly?
Yeah,
I'm
probably.
just going to say, just final mention, there is a blog post out there all about VIP. So if you want to read more about it, go there.
Blog.reclaimhosting.com. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
And the VIP page is live on the website as well. So
Yeah, push that.
Go
push
check 'em
that
out.
blog. Subscribe,
out.
like, right?
smash that button.
Smash that
like
button. Exactly.
Smash that RSS button.
That's right.
The newsletter button. So we'll see everyone next week with another stream where I'll be exploring or showing how you can make websites using macOS 7. So another really highly relevant technical topic for everyone
We're
to
staying
enjoy.
with the times. That's
Yeah.
good. Laserdiscs, Mac OS 7,
Yeah.
coming at you.
Yep. So thanks everyone, and everyone have a good weekend.